Last 2 days, we've spoken to many lawmakers here in Texas. And joining me right now with the good folks over at Right on Crime, Division of Texas Public Policy Foundation, we have Randy Petersen on with us. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell folks a little bit about your senior research at Right on Crime. Tell folks what Right on Crime is, what y'all do.
Okay, so Right on Crime is a national campaign that is part of the Texas Public Policy Foundation's Center for Effective Justice. So it addresses national issues as well as Texas issues. And the entire concept is a conservative view, a conservative way on criminal justice reform.
And this is, and I think some people confuse it with being weak on, and you probably hear this, right? You know, does this mean we're going to be weak on crime? Does this mean that we're just going to open up the jail cells and set loose everybody? It's not what this is, right?
No, that's not it at all. And yes, we do sometimes hear that, but that it really is the conservative model for criminal justice reform. Smaller government regulations that make sense, sentencing that makes sense, getting people treatment, victim-centered treatments, all of these other concepts that are really conservative ideas. It's not a jailbreak at all, anything like that.
Well, why is this something that's needed in Texas, just overall criminal justice reform?
Well, Texas did reforms about 10 years ago. In fact, this is the 10-year anniversary that resulted in, I believe, 4 prisons being able to be closed, which not because we just let everybody go, but because we had better treatments and we were incarcerating less people. It's a fiscally responsible model. So you might say, well, that's all well and good, but the crime rate also plummeted during that time. Mm-hmm. So it worked. It wasn't just it may have it may have started with a fiscal necessity, but wow, the benefits were way beyond that. So.
Tell folks about civil asset forfeiture. This is something that has come up in other states. It has come up here in the state of Texas as well.
Yes, we're starting to see some momentum. And you correctly titled it civil asset forfeiture, whereas a lot of people, either by design or by accident, call it asset forfeiture, which is different. There's criminal asset forfeiture and civil asset forfeiture. Criminal asset forfeiture is where the government seizes the fruits of your crime or the instruments of your crime after a conviction. That's not what we're opposed to. That's a good thing. Civil asset forfeiture, on the other hand, is actually a civil action against the property, not against the owner of it, against the property, and accusing it of being somehow in the nexus of criminal activity. And it can be seized and then forfeited to the government through a much lower standard. Understand that under criminal conviction, you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to be it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt by a prosecutor that you committed the crime that you're accused of. In civil court, under a civil process, the standard of the burden of proof is only a preponderance of the evidence, a much lower burden to meet by the state. And
Senate Bill 380 has been filed, right, by Senator Connie Burton.
Yes.
She's filed this. What would this do for Texans?
Well,
as far as you know.
Yeah. So it would effectively remove civil asset forfeiture in the way that we know it. It would require a criminal conviction. Now, one of the arguments is, it's soft on drug dealers. Well, there's a floor where you can still do a civil action above $50,000. That's where you're actually targeting the people that we were looking to target, right? The drug dealers and things like that. But for anything under that, it would require a criminal conviction before forfeiting the property. Now, you will hear arguments that, we can't seize things. Well, the seizure is only a part of it. There's nothing in this bill that prevents law enforcement from taking evidence to use in a trial, right?
Right.
It's just saying that you're not going to forfeit it to the government. They can't keep it unless you're convicted of a crime. Right on Crime did a survey a couple months ago, and 88% of Texans agreed that there should be a criminal conviction before the government keeps your property. 88%. I mean, we can't get 88% people to agree today's Friday, right? So,
right.
So that's a big number. I mean, I think it's gaining steam because people now know that this exists. This was kind of something that, I don't want to say it existed in the shadows, but it just wasn't that well known to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you, is that it seems in this session, maybe within the last 2 years, it's picked up headlines. It's picked up momentum. And I was going to ask you, why is that? Because we're starting to see other states that have passed legislation targeting civil asset forfeiture. Why are we just now seeing this pop up?
Well, this really is a conservative wave, right? That we should have the protections that are provided by the Fourth Amendment, by the Fifth Amendment, that protect our property rights. That we in the Fourth Amendment we can't even seize property without probable cause, a warrant supported by probable cause, except under certain circumstances. And here, with this mechanism, you're allowed to actually seize the property and keep it with a much lower standard. And that obviously wasn't the intention of the Bill of Rights. So this really is a conservative movement towards establishing property rights and due process.
When you go through, and I know you and there are other members of Right on Crime that are down here in Austin, and you're talking to lawmakers, what kind of momentum, because this isn't, I know Texas Tribune had a story on this, I think, earlier in the month, but it's not the bathroom bill. It's not the sanctuary city bill. It's not that bill that's grabbing headlines. Right. So what kind of momentum do we have here in Texas behind this, do you think?
I think we're getting some good momentum. It is not the headline issue, because we've got several of those this session already. But there was a comment made by the president at I believe a Sheriff's Association meeting that was, I think, kind of misinterpreted by a lot of people. The president is very, very supportive of law enforcement, and law enforcement has in kind been very supportive of the president. And so he was in a group with a friendly crowd, and he made a joke that that's kind of his way. And, to a friendly crowd, I don't think we can say that he staked out a policy position on this.
Right.
I don't think that's fair to attribute that to him at this point. But it sure drew a lot of attention. And I think that attention, and those bills had already been filed. So that attention, I think, was good for it because it got people discussing it. And I think as people discuss it, as they learn more about it, they can't help but be in favor of supporting it, of reform.
We're visiting with Randy Petersen with the Right on Crime and also the Texas Public Policy Foundation. What are some other things you are working on over at Texas Public Policy Foundation that folks need to know about, and how they can get more information about the Texas Public Policy Foundation?
Well, you can go to texaspolicy.com. Check out our website. We have Right on Crime and the Center for Effective Justice is just one portion of what we do. We're working on school choice. We're working on CPS reform. We're working on 10th Amendment issues, Convention of the States. There's a lot of things that go on there. It's an awesome place to work, I'll say that. But it's an awesome place if you're an advocate for conservative views, limited government. It's an awesome place to support and to go to.
Great. TexasPolicy.com. Randy Petersen, senior researcher with Right on Crime and also the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Chad.